Sometimes, the best stories in golf aren't found on tour. You'll find them at the back of the range. And now, your host, Ben Adelberg.
And as always, thanks again for joining me here at the back of the range. I am your host, Ben Adelberg. This is episode 64. Speaking of the number 64, that is precisely the amount of strokes Francesco Molinari had in the final round of the Arnold Palmer Invitational this past weekend. He is the new champion. Looks like we had a lot of our listeners out there at Bay Hill enjoying the tournament. Always good seeing that. I was actually in Orlando for a couple days this past week as well. I didn't make it out to the tournament, but I did swing by the Winter Park Golf Course, affectionately called WP9. I was there for their casual Friday skins game, and truthfully, it was one of the more enjoyable rounds of golf I've played in a long time. Winter Park Golf Course was originally built in 1914, but over time had fallen into bad shape, and around 2016 they were about to lose the course due to disease. But the city rallied and invested some money into a restoration project, and architects Keith Rebb and Riley Johns did an absolutely incredible job. The layout is eclectic, creative, and fun. Yes, fun. The green complexes are absolutely ridiculous, but hey, we're not trying to qualify for the U.S. Open here. We're trying to have some fun in the afternoon. They have back-to-back par 5s that are reachable, drivable par 4s, and challenging par 3s. You name it, WP9 has it. In fact, there's also train tracks involved and a cemetery. This place, you really need to check this place out. The skins game can fill up pretty quick, so make sure that you call ahead and save your spot. That's exactly what I did. And an impromptu media outing actually broke out because I joined the final group, which was a sevensome. That's right, a sevensome. And that included none other than Matt Janella, Gary Williams, and Jaime Diaz from the Golf Channel. Great guys that enjoy talking golf while they're actually playing golf. Gary has a new podcast called One Up, which is terrific and worth a listen. Jaime just started one alongside Brandel Chamblee. And we were also joined by Jason Bruno, senior golf writer at LInksNation. So I'm going to put links to all their work in the show notes of this podcast. I'll put the link to WP9 as well. So go check that place out. And special thanks to Matt Janella for being the ringleader, so to speak, of this Friday game. You know, a lot of people talk about growing the game. This guy's actually doing it for his community each and every week. So before we get to this week's guest, again, quick reminder, please leave a review in Apple Podcast. Here's why. The more reviews, the more episodes, the more guests. That's how it's going to work. So please do that. Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you want to shoot me an email, visit the website, thebackoftherange.com. All the episodes, everything that you need to know about the podcast, you'll find it there. This week's guest is Paul Tesori, PGA Tour caddy, and right now he's probably doing last-minute prep with the Players Champion, Webb Simpson, at TPC Sawgrass. How did this whole episode happen? Well, a good friend of mine, Kevin Hammer, he was actually a guest back on episode 5. He went to the University of Florida with Tesori. So I asked him, I said, do you think there's any way that I can get Tesori before the Players? About an hour later, I got Paul's number, I got everything all set up, and we're going to record his episode the following morning. Well, I had to kick our research team into gear, and of course that means me, and get some bio information prepared, some questions prepared. And you know what? We ended up speaking with Paul for nearly 2 hours. The first thing that he said was, ask me anything that you want. And we did. We spoke about his days with Vijay Singh. We spoke about his college days as an All-American at Central Alabama, and then his All-American stint at Florida. While he did play a handful of events as a player on the PGA Tour, Paul has been a caddy on tour for nearly 20 years, and has been on the bag with Vijay, Jerry Kelly, Sean O'Hare, and since 2011, Webb Simpson. We covered a lot. The Ryder Cup, the USGA, the Masters, the Watsons, Bubba, and Tom, but the very first thing we discussed was the Tesori Family Foundation. I was thinking about breaking this episode into 2 parts, but I didn't do it. I wanted everyone to have the same experience that I did. It's a big episode, both in length, quality of content, and it is rich in stories. So if you're a back-of-the-range diehard, you are really going to enjoy this one. So we had a Hall of Famer on last week in Dottie Pepper. This week's guest, he's a member of the National Junior College Athletic Association Hall of Fame, Paul Tesori. Thank you for joining me here at the back of the range.
Ben, thanks for having me on. I like that intro. That's a good one. I've never had that one before. You said Hall of Famer. I'm like, where's he going with this? Does he know something I don't know? But yeah, those were some good days when I could hit that little ball a little better than I can now. And even though my job now is a lot more conducive to good sleep at night, I would say.
Oh, I can imagine you're hauling a 50-pound staff bag around at least 30, 35 times a year at some point.
Exactly, and not having to worry about those 5-footers the next day either kind of helps the anxiety a little bit.
Yeah, you let other people worry about that stuff. You just bring the bag.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's not your job. Yeah, they hit the ball.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'll let him go worry about that.
Yeah, you don't stress about that at all. It's fine.
No way.
Yeah. So before we talk about your day job, before we talk about what most people know you for, which is being a PGA Tour caddy that's worked for Vijay Singh, Jerry Kelly, Sean O'Hare, and currently, obviously, with the Players Champion Webb Simpson, I want to start with something that's very important to you. I want to get it right in front of our listeners before we ever get started on anything else. Talk to me about the Tesori Family Foundation.
Man, what a great place to start. You'll have to probably tell me to stop at some point. But
no,
yes,
I won't.
Our foundation, we founded it late in 2009, and my wife, who runs nonprofits for a living, I'd always told her it was something that I wanted to do, and my excuse was the same. I think a lot of us use that. I didn't want to do something halfway. I wanted to wait, and she said, "No, that's ridiculous. That's an excuse. That, if you can change one life now, and then you make it to 2, and then you go to 4 and 8, and you do what you can when you can do it." And so we started it then, and the first 5 years, we really just focused on a lot of homeless shelters in North Florida and senior centers.
Sure.
Just trying to go do activities with them. And then obviously with the homeless shelters, help them financially, but also with time going to serve the men and women that were there. And it was kind of small, obviously, at the beginning. And then for those of you that don't know my story, and on January 4th, 2014, my son was born, Isaiah. He had a few complications. All of them went away. He just happened to have an extra chromosome, trisomy 21, a.k.a. Down syndrome.
Okay.
And very, very quickly, he started changing our life, all for the better. And it gave us a little bit more of an avenue, a push, a heartbeat, a passion, whatever you want to call it, to where we wanted the foundation to head. And now most of our programs all have to do with the special needs community. We still do some work with senior centers and with the homeless shelters as well. But, for us, our passion lies with the community of boys and girls like my son. So,
of course.
Yep, my favorite events coming up. We have 5 of them throughout the country now, but the one we do here at TPC, it's called the All-Star Kids Clinic. Me and Jordan Spieth put on a clinic for 25 kids with special needs. And they are the all-stars for the day. We have one-on-one instruction from PGA Tour players, caddies, and PGA Tour teachers. And we just kind of introduce the game to them, let them have a lot of fun, give them some good instruction, go eat some nice pizza after the 3. We do putting, chipping, and driving. And,
nice.
After those are over, go eat a little pizza and have a good time. And do one with Weber up in Charlotte. And now we have a few other tournament directors that are getting on board as well. So we're excited about that. And for me, that's my passion. My wife, we do something called the Buddy Basket program, where a lot of people, especially this day and age where, so much is being made of, a pre-diagnosis of kids with special needs, about potential abortions and stuff like that. If anybody could meet my son, they would know there's nothing wrong with him. I think I might be missing a chromosome at times, but we just do a basket of about $3,000 worth of goodies that have nothing to do with autism, Down syndrome, or anything else that these kiddos might have. We just want to help them celebrate the birth of their child. And we didn't get to do that. He was whisked away and within minutes after he was born, and we didn't get to celebrate it. We spent so much time researching. We just want people to remember, hey, celebrate the birth of your child, and go from there. So we just passed the $1 million mark last year.
I was going to ask you about that. I know you were close around November, right around November time, right?
I think, I try to be careful sometimes because I think it comes off as being braggy, but it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with my wife or my son. Yeah, it's just we've been given so much in this world, so much, and giving back even just a little bit that we have, and we want to continue to go. And passing that mark has more to do with everybody else helping us pass that mark than it does with us.
I think you'll get a pass for bragging on
thank
that.
you.
Yeah, we'll let that one slide.
Well, Ben, thanks. I appreciate it. And so if anybody wants to check us out, Tesori Family Foundation.org. We got a lot of different programs that we're doing, and you can get involved with a walk a mile in my shoes or any of these other things. Or, we would ask just pray for us and just pray that we'll be able to continue to just give back in all the areas that we can to a game. It's been so good, obviously, to me and my family, and any part we can to give back, we look forward to.
No, absolutely. And we will, obviously, I'll put the link to the website in the show notes of this episode. So for people listening, definitely hop in there, check it out. It's a great organization. They're doing, it's actually just a great organization and great. There's just fun stuff all over this website. I've been looking at the website, and there's just awesome stuff. So
anybody that knows me knows that's a lot of my wife that makes everything look so good. I'm not possible to do that. So
brilliant husband, man. I'm just gonna teach us a lot here. All right. So here's a question I want to ask you about, kind of tied into the Family Foundation. You have all these PGA Tour players that help out and donate their time. Whether it's their time for the clinic or maybe they're signing a flag or doing something. But let me get behind the curtain a little bit. Who is one of the PGA Tour players? Obviously, they're all gracious enough to donate their time. Who's the big softie that you can get that just maybe the casual fan sees the stoic and serious guy on the course, and this guy just melts into just a puddle. He just looks like a basket of puppies. Who's the guy?
What a great question. Obviously the two that pop in, but they don't do the stoic part. That'd be Jordan, Spieth, and Weber. They both done a lot. But the one I think that surprises people the most is Bubba Watson.
Well, he cries he cries on the golf course at a drop of a hat.
That's true.
You can't use Bubba. No.
Yeah, he gets this reputation as being a bad guy and all this other kind of stuff. But the guy he can't do more for you. All right, so we're gonna let
that guy owns a candy store in Florida. We're not letting that. Come on.
And a baseball team.
A baseball. That guy's just a big kid. Yeah. So give me the guy that's just wow, even that you were surprised. They're like, wait a minute, this guy really?
Yeah, exactly right, man. That's going to be a tough one for me. One of the guys I think that has they haven't really done as much, I would say, maybe on the financial side, but he has said any time that he needs his time, it'd be Sergio Garcia.
Yeah,
and Sergio, especially me as an American, we've all had our own problems with Sergio in the past. But when you get that man off the golf course, and even with us on the course, he's always been great to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's always said, Paul, if you need help with your clinic at any time, just don't hesitate to pick up the phone and call. That's a pretty special thing, especially for a guy like him, a guy obviously that's not an American.
Right.
Even though he's now married to one and has a beautiful daughter that is one as well. But I think he would be the one that points out, and Phil Mickelson as well. I doubt that will surprise people, but a guy that's as busy as him, he told me obviously anything that he needs or that I need, not to hesitate to call him. Kind of a cool thing last year. We did our first one that was done by a tournament director, and I had Chris Stroud, I had D.A. Points, I had Ben Crane. They all came up to me and they were just teary-eyed talking about doing the clinic. So these things will break men down in a hurry. And I even remember LaCava getting Joe LaCava, Tiger's caddy, getting all worked up when he came and did one with me. So it's definitely they all do it to give back, and then they get there and they realize, nope, it was more for us than it was for the kids. So it's been pretty special to watch.
Yeah, well, that's a great lesson to everyone. Go volunteer somewhere. Just get outside of yourself and go spend a day in the soup kitchen. Go spend a day at a first tee program. Just go do something like that. And
it's so hard. I've never minded giving my money, but I've always hated giving my time until I realized, this is actually for me.
Exactly.
Instead of me thinking it's for others, it actually ends up being for yourself.
No, absolutely. And you said your wife, we do a little bit of research here. By we, I mean just me. And, so your wife runs charitable organizations for professional athletes.
She does.
I've always kind of wondered, you see every athlete seems to have something, and how the hell do these things pop up and who's behind them? So your wife is someone that does things like this. How long has she been doing that for? We're going to talk about you later. Just you just
yeah,
just
exactly.
yeah.
And again, if anybody ever meets us, they'll spend more time talking to her. She's much better looking, much smarter. She's got it all in those areas. So she was in Major League Baseball for about 7 years with the Rays. She's always been in sports pretty much her whole life. She was a sports physiology major when she was up in Vermont, and Michelle's always given back. She's worked for other people. And so she started in 2008. She started working for a company that ran nonprofits, and now her and another girl own a company, and that's what they do. They just run athletes nonprofits for a living. She's been in all sports. She's been with NHL running nonprofits there, the NFL, MLB. Now she's just kind of focusing on the golf world. She's a mom now. Isaiah's 5 years old, and so her time's a little bit less. But they still have 3 clients right now all in the golf world, all people that we've heard of and know. And, she loves that aspect of it. She loves helping them find whatever their niche is. And I think she realizes even more now, because for us, while we liked the foundation, we did not have a heartbeat for it until Isaiah was born. And she tries to help people find their heartbeats. And, when she was with Duffner has always been just trying to end childhood hunger. And so as soon as she found his heartbeat, it was easy to run the foundation. With the Mahans, they're very, very similar and wanting to give back as far as being able to do childhood hunger. And then you got a guy like Jordan Spieth, who, even though Michelle doesn't run his foundation, she helps them a little bit. And, Jordan is always going to be the special needs community. They just built a huge multi-million-dollar playground that is catered to that. So again, her passion comes in helping others get back in areas that maybe we don't have the financial capabilities to do.
And I would imagine, to have the support, because you're on the road all the time, and it's not like you come home from a week on the road where you're fresh. You've been out walking 10, 15 miles a day carrying that bag. I mean, how important is it that she gets it as far as what it's like being out on tour and able to provide you the support, since she's working with athletes, or she has worked with athletes? So she's no stranger to this.
Yeah, and I think that's a big aspect of it. I think certain times in my life, if I was dating somebody or in a relationship, I think they said, "Oh yeah, it'll be fine." But then when the season would start, they're like, "Oh, this sucks," and I'm like, "Yeah, it does." And I don't always come back my first few days, as passionate and energetic as I should. I'm doing better at that, actually, the older I get. Just remembering, hey, when you walk in that door, you're now a dad and a husband, so let's go. This is not a time to go put your feet up. So getting better at that. And she understands the grind, she understands the disappointments, she understands the excitements, and so she kind of always knows what to say, when to say it. And she's just been a great partner through it all. And also, I've had to do it a few times with her too, when either clients may have disappointed her, and I can't name names there, but if other things have happened and she's been through tough times, we're like, babe, we just got to keep giving back, just keep pushing forward. And she's always been a great place to dive on that. And again, people that know me know that she must be an angel for dealing with some of my junk when I come home. I'm a little too competitive at times. And so, you come home a little, I don't know, depressed is the right word, angry even sometimes. You get a little bit of all that still goes on. I've learned to let it go quicker, but, you still get those emotions that come into play.
Sure. Well, let's kind of pivot, give a little bit of background to people listening about, you weren't always a caddy. I don't know how many people know that you actually did play on tour, and how you got on tour is just, I wouldn't say funny, but it's a little unexpected, because, you're native Floridian, as am I. And then you go to Central Alabama Junior College. Tell me about that experience. Tell me a good Coach Dave Jennings story when you're at Central Alabama.
Well, I had a different coach actually when I was at Central Alabama, but I've got a great story. I got a great story about Dave and my other coach. So, my dad, my family, we didn't come from a lot of money, but my dad never, he never let me want for anything. He always held a membership at the old Ponce de Leon down in St. Augustine. Doesn't exist anymore. It was an old Donna Ross golf course, but he always made sure I had a place to play. And when it came time to go to college, because we couldn't afford to, go travel, the AJGA and stuff, my name wasn't there. I was a good player. And so junior college was the only way for me to go at the time. And the local community college at the time was SCCJ. They were a top 3 program, but they didn't think I was good enough to go play, which just kind of helped me even a little more. So I went to Central Alabama Community College, where I was ranked first in the country my first year, in all of junior college, which was fun. And we won the national championship my first year there,
Yeah.
which was great. And we had a coach then by the name of Maxie Bowles, and Maxie was your old school kind of maybe football coach that just happened to coach golf as well, and he was good at recruiting guys to come in, and so his teams were always really good. And remember when I first got there, he said, I only ask three things of you. He goes, I need you to practice 5 days a week. I need you to work on your short game. And when you putt, there's only one goal, and that's 60-40, 60 front leg, 40 back leg. And I looked at him, I said, Coach, there wasn't anything in there about school. He goes, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
Nice.
So I knew right away I had gone to the right spot. And then later on, Dave Jennings, who is now the coach at Central Alabama, won a couple national championships himself. And he's been really kind. He's the one that put my name in to be included in the Junior College Hall of Fame. And that ended up passing through. I was very thankful for Dave on that, who has survived cancer, good player himself, and has become a friend. And so, junior college for me was the right thing to do, because when I left junior college, I had full rides pretty much anywhere I wanted to go. Funny thing, I grew up a Seminole, the biggest Seminole you've ever seen. Dad graduated, aunts, uncles, everybody. And I had a full ride to Florida State, but at the time their golf program was struggling, and I ended up accepting my only non-full ride offer, and that was to go to Florida at 72% scholarship, which was obviously the arch rival of Florida State.
Of course.
Ended up being the best decision I ever made in my life. I was able to be part of the national championship team over there in '93, and just to be able to play, to work with, to learn from some of the best players in the country at the time. And it's funny because back then we used to kind of feel bad for Georgia and Alabama when it came to golf. And
no, you didn't.
now those are the ones. Yeah, we did. They just weren't good, to be honest with you. And now you look around and Florida's back. J.C. Deacon's done a good job over there. But Alabama and Georgia, seems like every time somebody wins a tournament on tour right now, it's either from Georgia or Alabama. So. Yeah. Those were some great years for sure. Years that I'll always hold dear. I knew how good I had it then, and I look back now and still repeat the fact that I had it good.
I think it's important that you highlight the fact that that community college golf was very important, because we have a lot of listeners, whether they're parents of juniors or juniors themselves getting ready to go that college route. That shaped you, it sounds like. I mean,
it did.
Yeah. So you don't go straight to Florida. You wouldn't have been going straight to Florida if it wasn't for yeah.
No, exactly. And I think sometimes I have one theory when it comes to golf. If you want to do it, go someplace you can play as much golf as possible. And I don't believe in this thing, you need to be a little fish in a big pond or whatever. You need to go someplace where you're playing a ton of golf. Right. Nothing can replace tournament golf. And you look at, some of the great decisions that were made. I look at Tiger's career versus like a Michelle Wee. And, Tiger's career, his dad never forced him into anything bigger than he was ready for. And what I mean by that is he stayed winning local tournaments until he was ready to move on. And then he started winning bigger tournaments until he was ready to move on. But, he didn't compete in PGA Tour events. He played in one when he was 16, but he missed the cut, I think, in 6 tour events when he was an amateur.
Yeah.
He just allowed him to continue to grow. He played 2 years in college at Stanford, and I think as you look through that, and then you look at Michelle Wee, who she never competed against girls her own age ever. And you didn't maybe see that same ability to close or the same ability to handle pressure in the same way. And so I always try to tell everybody, now obviously if you're, a stud and you're going out, go to your 4-year school, go win golf tournaments. But if not, there's nothing wrong with going to a junior college. Again, I didn't have really many offers at all. I really had no offers to 4-year schools when I left high school. And when I left junior college, I could have gone almost anywhere. So there's a lot of positives that come from that. And it also allows you, to do well in studies while you're trying to learn the game.
I like how you threw in that trying to do well in studies after you told us that.
I had to. I just told the story about
I
coach,
know.
So
I know. You had to. Well, this is for the kids. I totally get it. Well, basically it sounds to me like what you're saying is forget about being a big or small fish in a pond. Go make your own pond.
Exactly. I love that. Yeah. Great line.
Yeah. All right. So no stranger that Kevin Hammer was a previous guest on this podcast back, I think, episode 4, way back in season 1. He's a good friend of the show, good friend of mine, and I know that you played college golf with him at Florida. I always like getting guests to talk about previous guests that they know. And I have in my notes when he says, hey, you got to talk to Tesori, I have this one note here, and I still don't know what it means, but he texted it to me, and he says, ask Tesori about the hours of Nintendo he played with Chris Couch at the University of Florida. What does that mean? Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, I definitely can. So I don't know how else to picture this, except I don't think the girls will understand this, but the boys will. So when I first went to Florida, I got along with everybody, but very quickly, me and Chris Couch, who most of us know, tour winner. I think he won 6 times on the Webb.com, and
South Florida
tour
guy
winner in New Orleans. Yeah, South Florida guy. I think 3-time All-American, just a stud. And me and him quickly became friends. We were roommates. We did everything together. We were pretty much inseparable. And one of those everythings together happened to be Tecmo Bowl, which was a football game on Nintendo.
Oh, you are speaking my language, man. We're not even talking about golf anymore.
Yes. So it was me, him, and another really good player at the time, part of that national championship team, Guy Hill. We were all staying in the dorm together in back-to-back rooms, and we all loved video games. And the thing about Tecmo Bowl, there was always 2 teams that couldn't be beat, and it was the Oakland Raiders, who had Bo Jackson. Yep, and it was the Philadelphia Eagles, who had Randall Cunningham.
Yes,
sir. So you weren't allowed to be those 2 teams, and whoever won the Super Bowl one year, you got to pick your team the next year. And so if you fell asleep at any point, your game got simulated. And if you lost, then there you go. You're going to be out. And so we basically wouldn't sleep. And we kind of stopped going to school. And Buddy Alexander was our coach at the time.
Oh, yeah. And you don't want to mess with Buddy Alexander.
Exactly. And we could not field a team to go to Vegas for the last term of the fall in 1992 because we were academically ineligible. I was leading the barrage of 4 of us that were ineligible at a 1.8. I was the highest GPA of that 4.
You were the smartest idiot, is what you're saying.
I was the smart, because if you don't go to class, to pull a 1.8 is actually pretty good. And so after that semester, Buddy put a big kibosh on all the games, and he started something called Buddy Hall. So we had Study Hall and Buddy Hall.
Oh, and, no.
It was a mess. But I remember one meeting that we were in, and Buddy said, if you guys could have any wish, what would it be? And I raised my hand. He goes, what would you want? I said, an infrared Sega, infrared Nintendo, so nobody could see it. And I just remember at the time, even he had to laugh on that one to go. But we learned our lesson, and very quickly we all got our grades up, and then won the national championship 5 months later after that. So it was a fun story. And Kevin's not fair, because Kevin did great in school. He looks like he belongs in a GQ magazine.
It's awful,
somewhere.
Isn't it?
He was smarter than all of us. He swung the club better than all of us. He scored better than all of us. He looks better than all of us. And so anytime Kevin gives you a hard time, you just got to smile and wave, because I don't think he's even made a mistake, even to this day. So I have no goodies on him. None. Absolutely none.
It's annoying, isn't it?
It is annoying. Yeah, it still is.
That is an incredible story, because when I think of Division I college golf, NCAA, and I mean, you guys national champions, I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking just everyone's toeing the line, everyone's super strict, and you're telling me it's literally it's not as bad as Animal House, but it's pretty damn close.
Right. Well, and and our arch rival at the time, even though we liked them a lot, was Oklahoma State, who they had the prettiest swingers in the world. Everybody was clean cut. They all swung it great. They were smart. They did great in school and all that. And we were kind of the bad news bears bunch that came in with all our different hatchet golf swings. We all had different moves and all that kind of stuff. But yet we were still able to somehow get it done, which is nice.
That's awesome. So you get out of Florida, and I mean, is it fair to say that you didn't set the world on fire at UF when you're playing college golf?
Yeah, I mean, I was an All-American my senior year, and I actually played number 1 on the team with Brian Gay and Chris Couch my senior year.
Right.
Which was, for me, was good, but I was never as talented as anybody else. I had a lot of heart. Coach always said if there was a foxhole in it, he would want me there with him,
right.
Which I knew what that meant. I loved it, but it also means you're not as good as these guys, but somehow you still stay with them.
Right. So,
and it kind of ended up becoming true, the older I got, and I actually knew it was true. I didn't take it offensively when he said it. Always had a little bit of reality in my heart at the time anyway.
So, and the reason that I mentioned that is just to the reason I said that is to kind of illustrate your choice to then try and play professionally and go to Q school.
Yes.
And so you're going was it just kind of like, hey, let's give this a shot, because if I don't, I'm always going to regret it. Was that kind of your mindset?
Yeah, I had a 3-year plan.
Okay.
I stayed an extra year after 94 to get my degree. So I wanted to give it 95, 96, and 97, 3 full years of playing golf. And I was playing well on the mini tours and everything, but you never know. And I remember some veterans at the time told me your best chance to get through Q school is your first try. And that didn't make sense to me. They're like, because you don't understand what it means.
And you have no scar tissue, and you just...
Exactly. And sure enough, straight through.
Yeah, and that is the craziest thing, because like you go to Q school in 96, and it's... Yep. I don't know at the time, was there really a pre-qualifier, or was it just first, second, and final?
It was just first, second, and third stage. Yep.
Okay. So you get through all 3 stages, and yep. I think I've read somewhere where you realized you were young, you realized you weren't ready for the PGA Tour, but you're in the moment, you get in, and now you're in the PGA Tour. You're there. I mean, just to level set for people listening. So 97, this is the year, obviously, Tiger wins the Masters. This is the boom, so to speak, of Tiger Mania, where he just takes charge. Go ahead. Tell me what that first year on tour's like.
Well, it was so interesting. I think, again, it worked in my favor, but going to the 96 Q school, which was my first one, and I told my parents and everybody when I went out, my goal was not to get on tour. I wasn't good enough. I knew that at the time. I said, guys, I'm not good enough yet. I've never really traveled, and I need to learn how to travel. I need to learn how to do everything on my own. I need to learn how to practice. I need to learn how to play. I need to learn. I was always very introverted at the time, and so I need to learn how to play in front of crowds and all these things. And, sure enough, there you go. I think a little bit of that is probably why I got my card. And so I got my card, and 97, I'm on tour. And as soon as I get on tour, as soon as I get through, okay, I got to start practicing. And that was probably the worst thing I ever did. I was always a player. I would play 27 holes a day as much as possible. I never really practiced, and I had a very homemade golf swing, a very feel-oriented golf swing. And probably one of the worst things I did was that next move. And I was from St. Augustine, Ponte Vedra, so I started practicing at TPC with David Duval, Vijay Singh, everybody else. Me and Vij became friends quickly, and I started practicing 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours a day. And by the time I got on tour, I thought I was ready to go. And just some major struggles. Physically, there were some issues.
Yeah, you had like a torn labrum in your shoulder, right?
I did. I had a torn rotator cuff and labrum, which I ended up having repaired. And I tried to play through, and that was in 97. And I played 9 events in 97, missed the cut in 7, withdrew in 2. And it took almost a year and a half of rehab, came back in 99, and I played in, I think 8 more. I think it was 17 total events. So 8 more events and didn't make the cut in any. And for me, I mean, it was the most traumatic time I had ever been through at the time. I mean, I loved golf, but it quickly left me. And I realized that was the one thing that had always been there. And my mind never came back. I developed the swing yips, and my body got stronger. But yet still kind of from all those popping days, I developed a little hitch in my swing, and they were the yips. I can't really hide anything else that they were. And it drove me away from the game for at least a dozen years, to be honest with you. I couldn't get myself. I turned down invitations to go play Augusta, Pine Valley, all these other areas. And what's funny looking back on it is I got a phone call in late summer of 2000. It was VJ, and VJ asked me to come work for him for a week, and I did. And at the end of the week, he hired me as his coach, and the week after that, he hired me as his caddy. And it was something I never knew that I wanted to do. I never knew that was going to be something that I'd be good at. And as hard as it was to work for VJ at the time, I can't be more thankful for 2 things. Number one, he gave me the opportunity, but number 2, he taught me everything. Oh, and the guy was a genius when it came to golf.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because I'm thinking, not to play on words, but to hang out at the back of the range with anyone, and it's Vijay Singh, and then you actually get his bag. You don't know anything about caddying at this time, do you? I mean, I'm sure you loop for
Nothing.
I'm sure you loop for buddies and little tournaments here and there, maybe a mini tour thing. But so you've never caddied in the PGA Tour. You've never really caddied for a professional golfer. And
No.
instead of getting like a young rookie that doesn't know anything like you, or some
Right.
veteran that's kind of like, I kind of do my thing, just carry the bag
Yeah.
and just, don't steal anything out of my bag. You get the
Right.
guy that is like the Zen master who is the
Exactly. And, at the time, I remember thinking, obviously it was a great job, making more money than I'd ever thought of at the time. But, it seemed like it was such a hard job. He was a friend of mine, but it was an extremely hard job. And I had 11 days off in 01 total out of 365 and 13 days off in 02. And, for me, I lost marriage, I lost family, all these other things because life became work. And there were some years there where I had harbored a little bit of bitterness and all that, but I realized that was all on me. It wasn't on him. I was just following the lead, and that's what he did. And, not until I ended up working for someone else did I realize just how much VJ had taught me about the game. If I would have started with the guys like you said, I don't think this would have been my career. And I definitely would not have become the caddy that I became. I wouldn't have had the reputation. I wouldn't have known all these little inside secrets that I didn't even know VJ was teaching me. He just demanded them. And he was teaching me at the same time. I almost feel like it's a little bit of like Miyagi.
Wax on, wax off, and all of a sudden,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. All those little things. And remember, Daniel's son, he got mad at Miyagi or Mr. Miyagi for a while. He's like, "What? You're just making me work. You're not teaching me anything."
Yeah.
Until it was time, and not until I picked up the bag for Jerry did I realize, oh my, because Jerry was like, "I can't believe how good you are. I can't believe all these things that you know." And I'm like, "Oh."
I didn't know it either, but
I didn't know that was different.
Okay, so you mentioned that VJ was hard. It was a tough job. Can you pinpoint? Just give me an example of that, because when you say it's hard, listeners or I may go to, well, it's a heavy bag, and he wants to be on the range after a round, and it's long hours. But is there another thing that you kind of maybe can explain when you say it was really hard?
Well, yeah, VJ was driven to become the greatest player he could be. He grew up in Fiji. He grew up in an abusive household. He grew up going through a lot of struggles. When we mean nothing, I mean day to day was wondering how he was going to afford to eat. Sometimes they would just have to boil a can of soup to eat. And to look where that guy went from and where he is now, being in the Hall of Fame, just contended obviously last week at trying to become the oldest player of all time. And all these areas that he came from, he was driven by those things and nothing else. His life was golf. His hobby was golf. His passion was golf. Everything was that. And so when that's the case, he wants that and thinks everybody else should think the same way. So like I said, when I had 11 days off out of 365 and 01, I mean, he thought that was generous. Like he thought he was being generous, giving me time off 11 days. The next year too, he didn't look at it the same way that we would look at it, which would be, that's ridiculous. And so, he was very, very, he was a perfectionist as well. So if a club was wrong, if a read was wrong, it wasn't always the greatest of communication afterwards. Let's just say it that way.
Got it.
And again, it didn't always come from a place of maybe a bad heart. It came from a place, this unbelievable drive and desire to be the best. And I mean, obviously what he was able to accomplish from where he came from is pretty incredible. Now, me and Beach had two different stints. We worked together 3 years the first time and then almost 2 the second time. But, we were friends, and it got to the point both times where we didn't like each other. And if you spend that much, I always say it's like marriage without the sex. And that's not a good thing. And you just get to the point where you need to be away from each other, and especially at the level he was playing at, to be able to be a part of his team when he overtook with #1 in the world, and then went back and forth with Tiger for another full year. Won 9 times, won 11 times that same year in 04 worldwide. I was part of a couple of those, 3 of us caddy during that year, and then to be a part of 13 wins in 3 years. Just all these other things that you watch, and you watch the progression of how he got there. He only had 9 wins at 39, and ended up with 34 6 years later, which is still an incredible streak. That was amazing to watch, and I can't be more thankful. Again, because of the house I'm in right now, the foundation, everything else, was because he gave me a chance and he taught me He's kind of like the little caddy guru, because all three of the guys that work for him have now gone on to do great things after him.
Interesting. Wow. Let me see here. I want to kind of shift a little bit here on a couple just random caddy questions. So, the only time that maybe the average golf fan sees a caddy, whether it's at a tour event or on TV, they see him on the course carrying the bag, or tossing a ball to the player to tee up for a driver, or on the putting green. What is one of the biggest parts of your job that the average fan does not see? What are kind of some of the other responsibilities that are just incredibly important, the player knows are incredibly important, but maybe no one sees?
Yeah, I'd say the first thing that comes out to me is the coursework time.
Okay.
Technology has gotten a lot better, so our yardage books are a lot better now than they were 10 years ago. But that being said, an average caddy in the course of a week without their player is going to spend about 12 hours on the golf course without their player. And a week like TPC, where we're going to be practicing Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, it's hard to find those 12 hours sometimes to get your work done. If it's a place that you've been to before, or your guy happens to be coming in on Tuesday, it's a little easier. But, each hole, we've got to know, what our carry numbers are over certain, let's say, like number one at TPC, what's our carry number over the middle of the bunker on the right? What's our carry number over the left edge of the bunker? What's our run outs down the trees, down the left? If we got a downwind, pins front left, where's our max number that we want to be able to put spin on the ball? If you do get wind switches, where are we going? What are we hitting? Where are we trying to place the golf ball? So there's a lot of intricacies that go into what make a great caddy great. Some players don't need a lot, but I would say nowadays, I'd probably say 95% of the players are going to want all that information I just gave from their caddies, or at least have it readily available. Some of us now, I've been Webb swing coach at least in half capacity, and for a few years in full capacity along the way. Webb had his high school golf coach, Ted Kegel, out of Raleigh Country Club. Was me and him, did a teamwork for about 4 years, and now we go see Butch once a year just to make sure that we're on the right track. But I'm Webb swing coach the rest of the year, and so just making sure that I'm watching video constantly, and that we're on track and what we're trying to do. And another example now is green reading has changed a lot in our game. I'm about to take my first full lesson with Aim Point Express on Monday of the players. So Monday, what is that? 5 days? Just because there's so much that technology has helped us with, and to be able to understand and keep up with the time, almost like anything, continuing education, we got to do it as well to be sure that we're staying on top of things that are going on. So, and even like last year, the last 2 days at TPC, we had hit it in the water on 17 on Friday, and I had blamed myself a little bit that I didn't quite know how hard the shot was going to be that day because of the wind direction. So Saturday and Sunday, I went out 3 hours before our round to make sure I had the numbers dialed in. I went and walked the number to the flag so we could practice the shot on the range and watch other guys come in. And so, at times just doing a lot of coursework before, even our 2012 U.S. Open, I went out and walked the golf course beforehand. And I noticed one thing about the seventh hole par three, the eighth hole par three.
That's
I watched
at Olympic?
At Olympic,
yeah.
Yes. I watched 5 groups come in, and out of 5 groups, out of 10 guys, 9 guys to a back pin came up short of the green. I had never seen anything like it in my life. And we got there during the round. Webb wanted to hit a 7-iron, and I had to use every Jedi mind trick I knew to talk him into a 6-iron. And you go back, even the 6-iron landed short. And what's interesting is Ernie Els, who was he had actually tied for the lead at the time. Later on, he hit a 7-iron, I think playing right behind us, and it came up short of the green and rolled 80 yards down the fairway. He made bogey, we made birdie. And just like little things like that that you're able to pick up on. And now that was a blessing in and of itself. That was almost miraculous that I happened to see those groups come through and the first group do it. And I still to this day don't know what happened, because Graham McDowell, who was leading at the time, flushed a 6-iron, thought he had made it, and it came up short of the green and made bogey. And I don't know what happened on that hole that day. I don't know if it was just, it was foggy, it was cold. I don't know if there was some kind of weird little atmospheric condition that was flying through that hole, but anytime you can pick up on small things like that, it's going to make the job worthwhile and makes those extra hours pay off.
You mentioned right there about, Jedi mind trick, trying to talk, Webb into a certain shot.
Yeah.
Whenever I see you two on TV, and there's microphones nearby, with maybe other players, other caddies, you hear kind of the understated caddy player relationship where it's maybe just a very subtle yes or no, or here's your number. But you really jump in there with him, and it is just two guys just like you're trying to figure out a puzzle, and it's just a lot of passion with it, trying to get the right number, right yardage, right aim point, and you are really in his, I don't want to say in his face, but you are very clear with him. Here's what we need to do. How long did it take you to kind of find your voice, so to speak, as a caddy, where you're that comfortable with a player on the PGA Tour, where you're that forceful, saying, here's what we need to do?
Yeah. Again, I'm going to go back to Vij. He established a lot of confidence in me when VJ wasn't a guy that needed a lot of information. He didn't need a lot of help, but when he asked for it, you better be there, and you better be ready, and you better be confident in what you're saying. And so those were kind of those principles that helped. And when I went to go work for Jerry, and
this is Jerry. This is Jerry Kelly.
Jerry Kelly.
Yeah.
Yep. I went to go work for Jerry, and me and Jerry had a good run together, President's Cup team together over in South Africa. And, it was the first time I say, oh my gosh. So my voice, like, he doesn't understand things that VJ already knew. Like, VJ knew secondhand. And then when I went to go work for O'Hare, who was a young guy who hadn't quite found, his niche yet. He hadn't quite found his flow yet. Again, these were things that he did not know. And when I went to go work for Weber in 2011, he was 213th in the world. Had just kept his card. And within one tournament, I'm like, oh my gosh, he doesn't know the things that the rest, or I said the rest of us, I didn't know anything either, the things that I know. And I'm not bragging about what I knew. I was just taught it by somebody who is going to go down as one of the greatest players that ever lived. And so once you start seeing that, it develops that confidence. And what's amazing, I told Weber right from the very beginning, I was like, Webb, my goal is after 2 years, you won't need me anymore. And I got to be honest with you, I do get a lot of credit, and I'm thankful for that. But, Webb's at that stage now in his 10th season. This is our 8th together. And he doesn't need much help from me anymore. And y'all do happen to see some of those. There's a lot of yeses out of me.
Okay.
There'll still be those couple of times around where either I disagree with him or I can tell he's a little uncomfortable, that I will jump in. And, Weber gives me the freedom to be me, where sometimes you have to kind of step around a little bit. Certain things you can say, can't say. You don't want to say, hey, that's our miss spot we don't want to go to. Weber just allows you to say, hey, obviously we're trying to take the bunker out of play. So this is why I like my 7-iron over your 6-iron. It widens the green up. It allows us to move our target to the right. And he's able to look at that and go, okay, that makes sense. Let's hit 7. Where some guys you can't mention the miss spot. Some guys you can't talk about where not to miss it. With Weber, he's okay with that kind of. He doesn't want to say, don't hit it in the bunker, but say why you like your 7-iron and give facts. So he gives me a freedom to be me, to kind of say the things I need to say. And I work for Joe Scovern, who works for Ricky Fowler. He calls Weber he calls him the unicorn, because you hear that guys like this exist, but you didn't know it was real. Because I tell him, if I have a bad read, Weber's in my ear on the next hole. He's not in my ear telling me bad read. He's like, Paulie, keep your confidence up. Come on, I need you. Everybody's like, that doesn't happen. Right. What are you talking about? Normally guys are like, man, what kind of read was that? And Weber's the other way around, because he gets that. The better me he gets, the more positive, the more confident he gets, he's going to win out.
Well, if you got to tell your player to keep his head up after a bogey, then the player should be keeping your head up after a bad read or a bad.
It's a rarity. Us golfers are very strange people. Our minds do not work the way a normal person's mind works.
True.
All those days alone in your own head for 5 to 6 hours, you kind of develop almost a dual personality. But yeah, Weber's great about that. And, certain guys like a lot. Our profession has changed so much, all for the better. The quality of caddy on that tour now is, I used to think I had everybody beat, and now there's just there's a lot of me's out there. There are a lot of talented caddies. Some of them we don't get to see every week on TV. But there's the quality of caddying now. And of course, anything in life, any business where the money has gone up, there's going to be a huge amount of competition for it. And our our career is no different.
Well, you mentioned business, so this leads me into another question I have. Whenever we're watching it on TV or we're at an event, we hear about that guy has a good team behind him, and you might
Yes.
see the caddy, you're going to see the caddy, and then maybe you'll see the coach, and then maybe the TV guy is going to drop a line about a new, fitness guru
Yeah.
or sports psychologist. I'm curious. Webb Simpson Incorporated. What does that
Yeah.
look like?
Yeah.
Not necessarily specific names, but does it
Yeah.
run like a company? Are you
It
having
does.
monthly meetings? What's your involvement? I'm just curious, like we hear about that all the time. Can you maybe pull back the curtain on what like Webb Simpson Incorporated looks like?
Yeah. So, I think most of the guys nowadays, their team is going to look very, very similar. Obviously, each guy has to have a caddy. Most guys have a sports psych on their team now. Some guys might use that sports psych weekly. Some guys might use it monthly. Some guys might use it, semi-annually or something like that. But almost everybody's got a sports psych on their team. Most guys have a trainer on their team, and Weber obviously is two for two, three. He's got caddy. He has a sports psych. He has a trainer. And when it comes to these things, you also have your team on tour. So for us, it's Titleist, and we've got two guys that just keep us dialed in, always trying to. Weber's a guy that he's always been a shorter hitter. He's a guy that has gained some distance. He's gotten stronger. He's gotten more flexible, and now you need equipment that's going to match it. And so he's got guys always kind of manipulating his wedges and his equipment to try to get the most out of it. Obviously, he's got his agent that's taking care of things. He's got an accountant as well. And, for a guy like Weber, he's got his wife behind him, who is a lot of times the people that don't get any credit. And wives, especially like Webb's and everybody's she supports everything he's trying to do. They've got 5 kids, all under 8. And for her to still, isn't that amazing? And she has a great line. She's like, baby, I want you to go practice. Okay. I want you to do your things. All I ask is that, hey, when you're gone, you go to work. But when you're home, you're home. I don't want you at practicing thinking you should be home. I don't want you at home thinking you should be practicing. Let's schedule everything. So they schedule a month in advance. They even sometimes go a couple of months in advance, and day by day, hour by hour, what they're going to do, when the workouts are. So the expectations are good. But you end up looking at the team that he has. We also have a short game coach. And you go through, and again, even though I'm a swing coach, we go see Butch, at least twice a year.
Yeah.
At least once a year, sometimes twice a year. And, Pat Goss is Webb's short game guy. And that's one reason why Webb's major play has gotten so much better. Even though Webb's a major winner, he had never had another top 10 until last year. He was one of only 2 players last year that finished top 20 in every major. It's because of the improved short game play. And so, it just keeps going, to be honest with you. And the guy we always looked at was Zach Johnson. Okay. He's a consummate professional. The guy has done more he's a talented guy. I don't like when people say somebody's not talented, because that's in the eye of the beholder what talent is. But he hits the ball short.
Yeah,
in a nowadays age. And and he's got a very strong case to be a Hall of Famer. He's got 12 wins, 2 majors, countless Ryder Cup and President's Cup teams. And, he's never left anything to chance. He has always made sure he's maxed out everything that he has. And that's kind of what Weber tries to do. And you look around now, it's the Tiger Woods generation, and all the young guys are doing the same stuff. And they're fearless. They're working hard. I remember when I went to college, or even when I first came on tour, only 2 guys worked out back then, and that was Keith Clearwater and Tiger Woods. And VJ was the next guy. And then once Tiger and Beach started dominating the world, all the younger guys started working out. And You talked about college. Our workouts in college where you would run stadiums and then do push-ups on the bottom step before you ran the next stadium. And now you look at some of these teams. I mean, they've got bigger gyms than the football teams did when we were growing, or when we went to school. So, the game has changed an incredible amount. And I got to be honest with you, I think it's for the better. I wish that we could do a little bit of something about some of the golf courses, about forced carries and stuff. But that's for another conversation, another time. I think our game's in good hands because of it.
How much do you weigh in on setting schedule? How much do you weigh in on on either or equipment. I'm kind of curious, what is your involvement on how the team operates?
Again, I think because of who I work for, and when I worked for Webb, when I started working for him, he was not where he wanted to be yet in the golf world, and he relies on me a lot for those kind of things. And again, the older he's gotten, he still kind of tries to rely on me, but he doesn't need me anymore. He's just nice. Like, he kind of needed me his first few years, but now I think he's just being nice to me now. He really, he's his own man now, and he's got such a good team that he kind of knows what he's going to do. But we talk about scheduling a lot. He'll start already. Like, I know my schedule pretty much for the rest of this year. And we've talked about it all to see what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, what courses are good for us, what aren't. With 5 kids, he wants to start playing a little bit less. So just trying to see where to trim it. Equipment wise, I do have quite a bit to say. But again, we have such a good team now at Titleist. With our man JJ and Aaron, I think they try to be nice and just try to run it through me. But there's really not a whole lot I can do to offer anymore. So I just keep telling Weber, buddy, thank you so much for making me feel important. But really all I'm good for now is to make sure your setup's good, your golf swing's all right, and that I'm getting those wind and club directions right. That's about what my job is now, and I'm okay with that.
All right, well, let's go back to a time when you really had a lot of input on the direction of Webb Simpson's career. The anchoring ban went into effect January 1st, 2016. I think this is pretty well reported that you may have cost Webb a couple bucks by suggesting that he move early. So I don't want to really get into the litany of what he went through in 2.5 years. I think was when he really struggled with the putting. But how do you bring up that idea to a PGA Tour player? Can you walk us through the process of, I'm going to get in this guy's head early, let's get ahead of this thing? What was his immediate reaction when you brought that up?
Yeah, so I always thought that Weber was a good putter, but not a great putter. And statistically, there was a lot of backing to my feeling. And so 2014, we were at the Ryder Cup, and we putted poorly over in Scotland at the Ryder Cup. And that was with the belly putter at the time. And the ban, we already knew the ban was going to take place in 2016. So in another year, a little over a year. And then our last tournament after that was in Sea Island. And we putted really poorly. Oh, I'm sorry. We putted poorly at Sea Island. And then at the Ryder Cup. And so we had about a month off, and I just called him and said, Bud, I've got something that's been on my heart. I really think you need to listen to me. And so my push was, let's get ahead of this thing. The media storm in 2016 is going to be massive. Let's just go ahead and change now. You're not putting well. It's the right time to go. You've been putting with a short putter on the putting green for the last year just to mess around. You stroke it good, blah, 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 blah. I gave him my whole spiel.
Sure.
And so he said, yep, let's do it. And then the day before we're going to leave for Japan in November of 2014, he calls me and goes, Paulie, I've been practicing. I don't think it's time yet. I'm going to stay with the belly putter. And I just said, okay. So hung up the phone. 5 minutes later, get a phone call back. He's like, Paul, I know you well enough. You don't like that idea. I was like, Weber, you're doing it out of fear. I was like, that putter's gone. I mean, you're not going to be able to use it over a year. You're not putting great. We didn't have a great year on the greens. Like, it's time to change. Let's go. Let's do it now. Quit being fearful. And called me back an hour later, and he had broken the putter that won him the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
All those other, he'd won him, second in the FedEx Cup, all these other things. Had won him 4 tournaments, broke it over his knees, so he couldn't take it to Japan. That was his goal. And long story short, like you just said, the next 2.5 years were hard. It worked a little bit with the media, but his putting went, from being a top 50 guy to 100 and upper 170s. And, he really developed, I don't know if developed the yips is the right thing, but he had a lot of anxiety putting. I don't know if it was the yips, but it was pretty close to it. And, he fell all the way down to 100th in the world. And I did feel responsible. And again, Webb Simpson being Webb Simpson, he's like, Paul, he's like, no matter what, I had to switch. He's like, and the reason why, this is him talking, not me, the reason why we had the monster 2018 year, the reason why I'm back in the Ryder Cup, the reason why we're doing all these things is because you had to switch a year early. But Brant Snedeker says, but Paulie, you cost him at least $3 million that year. You do realize that, right? Because if you had stayed with a belly putter an extra year, you'd have been on. And I mean, Brant's right, and I do feel that way. But I guess, in the old way, Webb's right too about the switch. We did get ahead of it. We were a year ahead of maybe where we would have been. I don't know. It was just one of those things that I'll always kind of hold with me a little bit. My mind was in the right place. I think my desire was in the right place. It was one of those decisions that did not work out the way I'd hoped it was going to work out.
Yeah. The thing I wanted to ask you about 2014 Ryder Cup, that's, most people think about, okay, we lost over there in Scotland, and then there's the Phil and Tom Watson spat during the press conference. But I wanted to ask you this. You guys sat 3 consecutive matches in 2014, didn't you?
We did.
What do you do to keep your head normal and his head normal? You spend 2 years to get to this spot. Talk to me about
that was harsh. It was, Ryder Cup's the greatest event for us in the world. Even when we lose, the camaraderie, to be with these men, to laugh with them, to high five with them, to yell with them, and even sometimes to cry with them.
Yeah.
What a blessing it is for me to be a part of and to watch these men go out and battle. 2014 was not a memory that I have very many fond thoughts of. It was something where the PGA thought they'd go a different direction and bring back an old captain, being Tom Watson.
Yeah.
Tom tried to lead in a little bit more of a dictatorship role. We are used to having Fred Couples as our President's Cup captain.
Yeah.
Who, and then Davis Love in 2012, who was an incredible captain in 2012. And for those that don't remember, we had a 4-point lead after team play, which that is all the captain can really do, is put together. You can't control what we're going to go out and do in singles. And after Seve passing away and all that, I think they might have had a little extra mojo on their side. But, for us to then go the exact opposite direction was harsh. I sat there and watched Tom Watson belittle my boss and talk down to Keegan and Phil, who also set 3 straight matches after they had beat the number 1 and 2 ranked player in the world on Friday in best ball, being Rory McIlroy and Sergio Garcia. They were 1 and 2 at the time.
Yeah.
And they beat him, and they set the next day as well, all day Saturday. And man, I started to get a little angry, to be honest with you. This is my man. He's like a brother to me, being Webb, and you're going to talk down to him and about his game, and it really wasn't warranted. And so for me, that Ryder Cup was harsh. There was not a whole lot I could say to Webb. We kept positive. We practiced. We went out and supported our team members. We went out the next day. We drew Ian Poulter, shot 5 under on the back, the tire match with Ian. And at the time, it looked like it might matter. We were having a little comeback, but they were too tough. And so 2014 is I've given away all my 2014 Ryder Cup gear. There's a lot of some wonderful polo gear, rain suits, everything else. When I think of 14, I don't have the memories I want to have of a Ryder Cup. I still have a lot of my stuff from 12 and obviously from this past year in 18, but it was just unfortunate. And I think Tom Watson's a good man. I think it was the wrong decision.
Ted Bishop.
It was the wrong
PGA,
decision. Yeah, of the PGA to put him in that situation. He did not have the heartbeat of the tour. He didn't know the guys, and he tried to do a dictator role. And that's just not the way it works. It's never worked well on either side, European side or our side. And even though we got hammered in Paris this past year, the team is in a great place. The new system we have is in a great place. We just got beat by a better team this past year as far as that week goes, and they chose a great golf course for their players to compete with us on, and that was the difference.
Yeah, they talk a lot about the strength of the players, but I mean, can you maybe speak to? And we're just flying all over different topics, but if you're cool with this,
I know we are.
Okay,
yeah, I love it.
Okay, cool. We don't. How much can you speak to the difference when we have home field advantage, so to speak, in the States versus when they have their home field advantage in Europe, where they can set up the course how they want to, we set it up how we want to? Is that one of the biggest differences that maybe doesn't get talked about as much?
Absolutely. The PGA is taking away a little bit of that. The home team used to be able to set the pins. So if you remember at Hazeltine in 16, on Sunday, there were some pins that were set up a little easier on Sunday.
And they complained about Europe complained a lot about the fact that
Europeans complained. Well, Davis Love, and I don't mind sharing this. I don't think this is public record, but Davis Love in 2012, Davis Love said he made one mistake. He said that he set the pins up the last day. There were too many pins on the right-hand side of the green, and especially on the 17th and 18th hole, where matches were going to be coming down to. And what he meant by that was,
faders.
Obviously, we were the team. Yep, we were the team with a big lead. We were the team that were going to be feeling most of the pressure. And he put the pins on the right-hand side, where when you're feeling pressure, you'd rather pin on the left-hand side. And we lost. I think we only won one hole out of 17 and 18 out of all the matches. I think they won like 12. And he said if he had to do over again, he would have put both of those pins on the left-hand side. And at first I didn't think much about it, but the more I thought about it, I was like, wow, he's right. And that just goes in to tell you, I mean, look at how much goes into being a captain of a Ryder Cup team.
Oh, yeah.
You know, where his biggest regret wasn't putting a team together. His biggest regret wasn't where he put out guys in a lineup. His biggest regret is where he chose to put the pins on Sunday. And you know what? He's right. That probably did make the difference. Now, it's not Davis Love's fault. I mean, we got the best players in the world going out to battle it out, and they should be able to take care of their business and win 4.5 points, obviously, on Sunday. However, it was a big thing. So at Hazeltine in 16, the pins were much different, with Davis being the captain. Very, very smart move for him at the time. When Justin Rose complained about it after the round, some things were changed. So now the PGA of America sets the pins, not the local team. Yeah. And so I hope they continue to let the local team set the course condition up, though. In Paris this year, we showed up on Tuesday and the course was pretty wet. The first hole, for example, we hit 3-wood the first day. By the time Saturday's matches came, we hit 5-iron off that tee. Yeah. And on our singles match, we hit 6-iron because the course had browned out. Well, they had all had some experience there. I think they knew that they were going to make it soft, so we would lose our ability to quickly adapt to what was going on. Now, I don't think that's a cheating thing to do. I don't think it's bad. I think it's brilliant. Why wouldn't they?
Of course.
One of their advantages. So do it. Well, as long as I think we still had that same right. You know, Whistling Straits is more of a bomber's golf course. It's more of a guy that they have, I think, the straighter drivers of the golf ball for sure. And I think we have the longer drivers of the golf ball for sure. And so I think that we hopefully will have the same ability to play to that hand in 2020 at Whistling Straight.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you're kind of sharing anything new, because if I remember correctly, well, I mean, you're sharing something new about the pin placements, but what I'm getting at is I believe that it's pretty common knowledge that there is a certain point where there is a captain's blackout with the course. So I think at some point during the week or the week before, on either Sunday or Monday, at least I remember from the 2016 one at Hazeltine, there is a blackout where the captains no longer get to talk to a superintendent about course setup or pins or stuff like that.
Okay. And I actually think that's a positive thing.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
You know, I don't think you see football coaches going out, hey, let's make sure that the field in Jacksonville is wet because we got a great running back coming in from whatever Houston and we want him to slip. You know, I don't think you see things like that happening.
No.
So I don't think in golf it should be that way either.
Yeah. Let's see. Random things for me to get your
hey, I'm going to interrupt you. This might be the first time you've ever been interrupted by an interviewer.
I love it.
I got to tell my story here real quick that everybody loves to hear. So
after
we win the players last year, obviously get a lot of congratulatory texts. I had over 700 texts, which it's mind blowing to me. And I loved them. I took my time. I think I responded to almost everybody at like by 5 a.m. I didn't sleep much that night. But one of my favorite texts I always get, and my least favorite at the same time, is Bubba. He always texts Weber and me, and Bubba thinks my PGA Tour playing career is the funniest career ever. My 0 for 17 cut streak. So he never, ever misses an opportunity to remind me that I went 0 for 17. So my text each time Webb wins. Weber, great job. Paulie, you're still 0 for 17.
What an ass.
And I was giving a speech, me and Ted Scott, we were doing a thing in front of about 750 guys in Publix. I mean, I just said a Publix. That would be interesting.
I shop there too. I haven't seen you there.
Out at Phoenix, and Bubba FaceTimed in, and they put him on the microphone, and he told the entire 750 guys out in the audience that I was still over 17. So if I don't get that story out, he would be mad at me. He goes, Paul, just keep telling people. just keep making me look funny and making you look bad at golf. That's fine. I love that story. So I had to get that part out.
No, that's fine. I mean, well, now this story is very self-deprecating to you. So why don't we really, open this up and give you a chance to tell an embarrassing story about Bubba Watson? Wouldn't that be a great idea?
That would be a great idea. Here's the problem. I've got a lot of them. And to find like my favorite would be really, really hard to do, but it's much easier to say, the funny stories, because the guy, I don't think he's normal. I think we all know that.
Okay.
I mean, the guy's got a pink shaft. He's got everything else, but we were at the President's Cup, our first one in 2011. It was Webb's first event. He was the highest ranked player on the American team over in Australia. I think he was 5th in the world at the time. And Webber started off just a little shaky, even though he did hit the pin on the first hole, which I tried to remind Webber, or tried to remind Bubba. But after the 4th hole, he's like, Paulie, I got to get in your man's head. Watch this. And so he gives him this whole speech about he's the highest ranked player and all that. He goes, Webb, you got to remember, you're the best around. Nothing's going to keep you down.
No.
And that song annoys me. It annoyed me way back. I think that might have been a Karate Kid thing.
It is.
But it is. Well, there you go. Another Ralph Macchio, another Mr. Miyagi story we got. That's two on the same podcast.
We are all over the place on this episode. It's great. It's awesome.
And I hated it. Well, that very hole, after he sung the song to Webber made a 12-footer for birdie. And they went on alternate shot to birdie 7 of their next 12 holes. Alternate shot, which is almost unheard of. And they were singing the song, Ted Scott, Bubba Watson, and Webb Simpson. I hated it. And they knew I hated it. So every time they make birdie, they would all wait to come up to me and sing it about as loud as they could in front of me. And I still have to hear it now. The next Ryder Cup, this was 2012, he had a song, They Call Me Mr. Fairway.
Oh.
So every time he hit a fairway, he would sing it to me. And I'm like, Bubba, you're driving me nuts. And so he really enjoys that aspect of it. And he is different, without a doubt, but he's special in his own right. He's a good man, but he's very witty. You can't get a whole lot by him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, that'd be a fun conversation with that guy.
It would be for sure.
Oh my gosh. Let's see. So let me get your take on a couple things. The fan experience at on the PGA Tour. I know you can probably speak to this much better than I can, but it feels like the last several years it's become more of a party, the more VIP tents. Everything seems to be booze-sponsored grandstands, and it's less and less about the golf. And I'm not just talking about the waste management, but all this crap is being done in your workplace. Is that a big effect on you or Webb?
I'm probably going to lose a few fans on this one.
No, because the reason I'm asking is because the people that listen to this golf podcast enjoy golf, enjoy the stories. I'm torn on it too. Like, I understand it's a big money grab, and I understand it makes for a party, but I'm almost like it. I'm kind of like it's kind of jumped the shark a little bit in my opinion.
First of all, I'm old, 47 years old.
Yeah, I'm 40. I'm pretty close. I'm 40, okay. 42, so I'm right there.
and I'm old school. Man, I liked that golf was different. I liked that you're quiet when a player is hitting. I liked that there was these certain etiquettes that came with golf. We have so many other sports where you can yell and scream and dance and do all these other things that, I mean, that part for me, it's been hard. I don't think I'll ever quite get used to it. I didn't mind Phoenix to be that one different week. We get 500 or 600,000 people come across there in 4 days. Like, okay, let's let it be. But now each tournament has created a 17th hole. And this past week at Honda, you've got 2,000 people surrounding that tee box. You've got water short. You have a bunker long that if it goes in that bunker, a lot of times you can't hold the green.
Right.
It's a 6-iron, sometimes a 5-iron in there. And, we doubled it both days on the weekends. We had a guy, kind of yelling our backswing on Saturday. And then somebody else got that one on our backswing on Sunday. We went double, and we went from finishing 36th to I think we would have finished 12th on those two. And, these are just things that I wish golf was immune from. And it looks like this is the new norm. I realize my paycheck is big because of the fan experience. I realize those things. It's just, again, I kind of like I like the old school way that golf was, and I think those days are gone pretty much for good, except for the British Open, which they've got it dialed in. They really do. They do a great job there.
What let's see, hardest week or tournament of the year for you, and not just physically, but maybe the hardest course for you to plot your way around.
Yeah.
The hardest course for you to do your work at.
This one's easy. Yeah,
okay.
This one's extremely
and not
easy.
Just, and not just for you. I'm sorry, not just for you, but I'm saying if I asked a dozen caddies, what do I think the
it's Augusta.
Okay.
I would think it's Augusta for almost all of us. Number one, just start with the physical demand of it. It is a beast. So many huge elevations there. Just a massive golf course when it comes to the physical demand on the body. And also the fact that almost all of us walk at least 27 a day there. Still, even the tournament days, going out to watch other guys golf or other guys play and trying to learn. So that's the first answer. Second answer is just the extreme difficulty, especially for a guy like Webb with Webb's length. I assume the other guys struggle with some of the stuff just as much, but a hole like number one, we're back there hitting a 5-iron in, and there's only about an 8-yard wide area that we can land the ball, and that's length and width as far as distance and direction, and trying to figure out how to hit the green. If you don't hit the green, where can we leave the ball where we got the best chance of getting up and down? And a hole like number 4 that's 240 yards and the wind's blowing through the trees, supposed to be into out of the right, but you're getting hit down out of the left. How do you decide what club to hit? And 12, we all know about 12. You sit there, 11's, tough, but you sit there on 12 and the first guy hits a 9-iron over the green. The next guy hits an 8-iron in the front water, and you're sitting there hitting third. And you're like, I don't know what to do. I'm scared.
Yeah.
Just trying to work your way around that golf course to get the most out of your golf game. It is, at the end of that day, I have never in my life, every day, felt that exhausted mentally, physically. And just, I get a little more anxious at Augusta too. I think because everything you're gonna face, and just trying to successfully get through each hole, doing the best you can, trying to make the best decisions you can, and trying to stay focused for that length of time. It used to be, back before they lengthened the golf course, it used to be fun. I never wanted the week to end, but now it's so demanding that by the time the week's over, I'm ready to go home, to be honest with you.
Wow. Give me the caddy that makes you laugh every time you see him.
But definitely, I know I always pick on the same guys, but always Teddy Scott. The guy, I think it's all these years with Bubba. I think he's just developed. I mean, first of all, he's about a comedian as he goes anyway. He's so talented. He's able to make another Ryder Cup story, 2014. Again, just kind of been a strange week already. And we're on the second hole of the 4-ball competition against Poulter and Rory. And he pulls over and he goes, guys, huddle in. He goes, I've got the key for today's round. And we're like, okay, what is it, bud? And he pulls out his room key. It's just like dumb stuff like that he does. Dumb stuff like that he does all the time, and just breaks the ice really, really well. He doesn't really he's not going to let bad golf or good golf really go to his head. He's going to kind of keep things light.
Okay. All right. Well, that leads me into this one, the player-caddy relationship that works in the golf course, but you look over and you shake your head because, like, these two guys are just so different, and I have no idea how that works.
Man, okay. All right. I'll have to think about that one a little bit. Let's see. Right. No, I'm trying to go through all kind of the longer-term guys up there. No, on that one. How about Brooks Koepka and his caddy Ricky?
Okay.
So Brooks, American, Ricky, Irish. Mm-hmm. He's now an American citizen though, so let's give him some credit on that one. Obviously, Ricky is funny, talks all the time, can tell a story with the best of them. Like he's the guy, he's the life of the party, and he is a great caddy. Brooks is a great guy. He's just much more reserved, much more to himself. I think Ricky weighs about 145 and has the muscle tone of a teenager.
Nice.
No offense, Ricky, if you're listening right now. And then you got Kepka, who looks like a wrestler out there.
Yeah.
He's just ripped, built, and everything. So very, very different. They get along incredibly well, and Ricky does an incredible job for him.
That's awesome. What the hell do you do during a rain delay to keep your mind straight?
I don't know. I'm bad. Thank goodness for the iPhone nowadays. I'll usually pull out, start texting, sending emails, play a game on my phone, get my spades game going.
Well, because Webb
stuff.
can't sit still. I think I've
No.
read that like
So-
you can hang and do nothing, and
Yes.
he just can't.
Such a true story. So Weber, he doesn't really mind there. He goes in, he loves like hanging out with the other guys. So he'll go in and get a table because again, there is still a little difference between the caddy and the player hangout.
Oh,
A lot of times we are outside in a white metal shaped tent during rain and lightning storms. So we're all out praying. I'm holding Bible study outside so we can get through alive. While the players are inside eating salmon and tuna and steak and that kind of stuff, drinking Perrier and telling stories, probably about the caddies.
Nice.
As they're in there. So, but he loves that time. So he's pretty good about it. For us, it is kind of tough because we are generally still outside, and as soon as it clears up, we got to do a little fight for the range a lot of times because there's not enough spots. Everybody has to go at the same time. So our experiences are a little bit different, but we usually hang out. I'll get on my phone. I'll call my wife and maybe play a little game, play a little spades or something like that.
There you go. What are some things that you see out of new caddies coming on tour that if you were the you're now entering your 20th year. I hate to break to break that one to you.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. But what do you see out of new caddies that if they came to you saying, "Hey, Mr. Tesori, do you have any advice for a new caddy?"
Yeah.
What's something that you see immediately that you're like, that's got to stop?
Yeah, so two things, and this is something I had to learn. I made the same mistake, so it was easy for me. And I've quite a few caddies, I'd say probably a couple dozen, have called and asked similar questions to that to kind of younger guys that have come out and asked those questions. And my first one is, when yes will do, allow yes to do. When that's perfect will do, allow that's perfect to do. There are times when over caddying can become an issue, and
Okay.
I used to do that, and so it was easy for me to see because I wanted people to hear how smart I was. If Weber says, "Hey, Paulie, is this 7 still good?" "Yes, but it's perfect." I don't need to go in and give him the 19 reasons why it's perfect.
Yeah.
Just say, "Yes, bud, it's perfect." That's it. Now, if he's on a 6 and you are on a 7, and this is my other advice I give him, I always say, guys, give them factual reasons why, not because I think so, or because it feels like it, or because Joe hit 7-iron before us, or because tell them why. Buddy, here's the truth. The wind's in 2 out of the right. The number we're trying to pitch it is 167. Right now that's playing 175. The front's only 160. So no matter what, 7's enough to cover that. It's just a better club. So I always tell them 2 things. Say yes, or that's perfect when that's all that's needed. That'll do. And the next thing is, if you're trying to convince them if they're about to make a mistake, give them the factual reasons why, not just because Joe did it or because that's the way you feel it should be done.
Perfect. Okay. This is a question that I had come up. There is I don't watch any reality TV. I would imagine you don't watch a lot of it either, but
I don't.
Okay. Well, there apparently is a show called I think it's Trading Spouses or Wife Swap. So we're going to play the caddy version of Wife Swap.
Okay.
You have to go out onto the Champions Tour for a month, and you need to take over the bag for a Champions Tour player. Can't be Jerry Kelly, can't be Vijay Singh, but you got to take their bag, and then you have to put that caddy with Webb. Can you think of a Champions guy that you want to go loop
Done.
for? Okay.
Easiest answer ever, because I want to spend time around this man. That's Bernhard Langer. I want to know what's going on in that guy's head. I want to know, how is he still this good at his age?
Okay.
And I know his caddy. His caddy lives in Jacksonville. He's a good guy. He's very similar to me. Works his can off, a good guy, and he would fit in well with Weber right away. And he probably would want a little break and some laughter. And I would probably bring Bernhard some laughter, but I've told Weber, I would love to, if he'd be willing to at some time, maybe Bernhard would have us out to his house. I just would like to go spend 2 days with him and just really ask a lot of questions. I mean, what this guy has done, I think, is one of the most impressive things in the last 30 years in golf. Take away Tiger Woods. I think what Bernhard Langer has done should be number 2.
Well, and I think, it's funny you mentioned that, because I think if I remember correctly, Bernhard Longer was one of the guys that I think went to Webb and said, hey, keep working on the putting. It's going to come around.
Well, yeah. So I actually, one of the things I asked Weber to do was to call Bernhard, and he did. He called Lehman and Bernhard because they had both been through the yips, and I wanted them to give him great advice. They both obviously had the same faith as Weber, and they had both been through the yips. So I said to call. He called Lehman first, and Lehman said, call Bernie. So he called Langer. He called Langer immediately, and they talked for 3 hours. And Weber said it was just incredible to spend that kind of time on the phone. And Bernhard was unbelievably kind, patient, very forthright with his own struggles, and just, I can't really think more of the guy. And again, would love to experience that up close for any length of time. I think would be just a bonus to me and a learning experience for sure.
I was at the Chubb Classic in Naples for a couple of days, and I was standing on the practice putting green, like probably 10 feet away, watching him just hit putt after putt. And it's funny because I use a long putter as well. And I'm just watching this guy, and I'm just like,
Did you see? I don't know if you saw VJ went to it this past week in Honda.
I did.
And again, had great success with it. So
yeah, I saw that.
David Hearn went back to it and is putting well again. So.
All right, so I'm going to wade into this one gently. I don't think I need to, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm not sure if you're aware, but the United States Golf Association has some new rules for your game of golf. Okay. So whether it's the accidental drop from shoulder height or caddies in the through line or anything like that, we're recording this right after the Honda. JT, Justin Thomas, and the USGA get into this little Twitter back and forth with, which I just think is absurd because, take that crap offline because no one looks good in that situation, in my opinion. So there are fans out there that think, hey, these guys make so much money. These players are, why can't they just read the damn rules and move on? What is something that maybe the average fan just does not understand about some of that stuff?
Yeah, so I think anything that we want, whether it's in sport, whether it's in business, whether it's in our family, our marriages, whatever it is, doesn't matter. We want things to be fair. I think all of us, we react when something's not fair. And I think in golf, it's always been such a meticulous sport anyway, with the rules that we call on ourselves. It's a different sport. And when rules start to interfere with guys' careers and rules start to impact guys' abilities to keep their cards, to be on President's Cup teams, Tour Championships, be able to do all these things, and the guy has done nothing wrong, things need to change. And, in golf, Weber, unfortunately, is one of those that back in the day, he had a ball move on a 3-inch putt where he didn't ground his club within 5 inches of the ball, and it cost him a tournament in New Orleans. And, at the end of his career, it could cost him the Hall of Fame. It could cost him a lot. We don't know those things. And, that year it cost him the Masters, it cost him the U.S. Open, it cost him other things that year. And, now they've changed that rule, which is better. But now you got, this new rule that they've created with, the caddy can't stand behind the player. And the USGA even said it's done basically for the women's sport where caddies were lining their players up. And here we are at the Honda last week, and Adam Schenk is one shot out of the lead. And he shows up on Saturday, and he's got 35 minutes before he's got to go tee off. And here comes the PGA Tour telling me he has a 2-shot penalty because he violated the caddy alignment rule. Well, the rule that was broken was on the 17th hole. Adam had pulled a shot on the par 3, and it was buried in the lip in the left-hand side. And he had to bring his caddy, Mark Cairns, over to see if on his backswing, his club was going to hit the lip of the bunker or not, to see if he could get to the ball or if he needed to take an unplayable. They decided that it wasn't going to hit the bunker. Mark left. Adam hit his shot, made his bogey, and moved on about his business. Well, they said he violated the caddy alignment rule. Here's the problem. He wasn't aligning him up. He wasn't doing anything. He was just trying to make sure that the club didn't hit the lip of the bunker. And that's where the implementation of rules, they do such a horrific job of. The rule for the long putter, which you said you're a long putter user, says that as long as there's no intent to anchor the club, that it's okay. Well, obviously there's no intent in that area, that he was trying to line up his player, so there should not have been a penalty. Yet it was a 2-shot penalty and could drastically alter Adam's career. These are areas that it shouldn't happen. Ricky Fowler taking a drop from the shoulder height instead of this new knee height drop. It looks terrible. And, the whole adage they keep trying to say is to grow the game. Well, professional golfers out trying to win the Masters, taking a drop from their knee, it looks horrific. And it's really not changed anything that they're trying to do to change the ball rolling. And so at least make it an option. These are things that they did not go over with the players. Now I know our commissioner came out and said that the PGA Tour as a whole backed the rules, but the players did not know.
Right.
And there's where it lies. And then the last one, putting with the flag stick in. A great rule for recreational golf. If you go play with the boys and y'all are going to play your local club, leave the pin in. It's going to speed up play. But I play in a lot of Florida State Golf Association events, and it's slowing down play because 2 guys want it in, 2 guys want it out. We don't have caddies.
Right.
And, the thought of Adam Scott putting out on 18 at Augusta in 2019 from 3.5 feet with a pin in, it gives me – it doesn't look right. It's not good.
Yeah.
And even the RNA guy, now Mike Davis said everything was going fine, which is not true. The RNA guy said it just doesn't look right. It's not what we thought the pin in was going to be left for. And I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with 2 sets of rules. I really don't. I think there should be either professional rules and amateur rules or whatever you want to do. In basketball, you got 2 different lines. In baseball, you use 2 different kinds of bats. You have all these different rules in other sports, but I don't think there's wrong with a separate set of rules for both areas. They just the USGA, the men, they're good men. They just have no communication when it comes to the right areas. And I mean, maybe the tour's to blame too. I don't know. They really need to get together and figure these things out because I believe personally it's ruining our game and affecting careers that should not be affected.
Well, and it's also, the other thing, and that's very well said, and I don't think I think it's very heartfelt and it's very logical what you're saying. The other thing, too, is golf is a hard enough game as it is, and we're always talking about growing the game and getting kids involved and getting it to the mainstream.
Yes.
And if we got to see on Twitter or we got to see on Instagram or anything like that, or it's all about the other things, like, I'm sure at some point Ricky Fowler will look back and see the video of him doing the knee-high drop with, kind of replicating, taking a dump in the fairway. He's not going to be super proud of that at some point, but I understand why he showed his displeasure. But we don't need things like that being on in the media. We need to get that away.
Right. Well, I here's the hard part. We've tried every other way with the USGA.
Oh no, no.
And I think here's what my disappointing thing is. I hear you, but what Justin Thomas and everything else. But then I don't know if you saw USGA tweeted back at Justin. Cancel 5. Well, then they came back out and said that was wrong.
Yeah.
That never happened.
With their
Well, there we go again. The USGA came out and said things that were completely untrue. It was not true. And yet they come out and say things. Again, it's that communication aspect. And the truth is, and this is the scary part, we don't need them. They need us. And I don't care what anybody says. At some point, they need to be leaning on us to help make the rules, not us leaning on them. And I think when that comes, if that comes, everything will change for the better of the game, for the growth of the game. I just wish the USGA and RNA, I believe they think that they are above the game. And I wish that they would rely more on the players that are actually putting the face of the game on the map.
Right.
Rely on them to help them make the rules. Let them still make the rules. It's a hard job, a lot harder than I can imagine. But they need to rely and maybe get rid of a little bit of the ego and just maybe say, hey, guys, we're making way too many mistakes. Help us. Help you. And I think things will get better.
Well, it's really outside the box. That's why I thought I'd throw it out
there. That's true. No, you're right. You're right. Absolutely. It would definitely get everybody's attention. That's for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of Mike Davis, I don't know if you were there for it, but, Mike Davis is a lot of things, but he is definitely not press conference security. But in 2012, he had to be press conference security, awards ceremony security.
Yes.
Were you there when he had to grab that lunatic away during the presentation of the trophy to Webb?
So, buddy, I'm so bad. I had a red eye that night, and I wanted to get back to see my family.
Oh, okay.
So when Webb left to go out and do everything, I hugged him. and left. And, on that long flight, obviously on the way back, because I had just made a little extra cash and I had the internet, so I started reading the stories. And of course, I kept tilting my phone so the people sitting next to me would see that what had just happened, because I just wanted to talk to somebody about it. But everybody else was sleeping on the way back. I saw Jonathan Bird was the only guy I saw. Gave him a big hug and hopped on my flight home. But I had some people waiting when I got home, and my wife and some friends had made some fun stuff. But I didn't. I did watch the video on the plane on the way back once we had landed. So that was good to be able to see. But, one of the things people did not get to see was that Mike actually threw the guy in a bunker. That was off the screen. Mike took the guy and grabbed him and threw the guy in the bunker when Webb quipped, "Enjoy the night in the jail cell, pal."
Yeah.
And hey, I do want to say one thing, just because the guys from the USGA, I don't think they're bad people.
No,
I just think that there's a severe lack of communication between them and the tour. That's it.
Yeah. Before I let you go, you mentioned ask anything, so I know I'm not going to ask you to recount the Tiger Who story with.
Please do.
Oh God.
No, let's do it. Come on, let's do it.
The second last question I'm going to ask you. So either you start however you want to, but what does Paul Tesori say to a 21-year-old Paul Tesori right now?
I love that. Okay, so let's start with the Tiger Who story.
Fine.
This is Tiger's favorite story. He loves me to retell it at every single team event. He will bring me in front of everybody to retell it several times. And so the story goes like this. It was 2000. It was my third event caddying. It was the President's Cup in West Virginia.
And when you say third event, you mean third event ever?
Ever caddying for VJ. Third event. I'm on the international team. I'm caddying for VJ Singh. We get paired with Tiger the first match, second match, third match, and fourth match. The Americans only need 1.5 points to win. The matches are over. It's on. And, of course, in singles, who do we get? We get Tiger for the fifth straight day. We show up, and the ball boys had 12 hats beautifully made up, international hats that said Tiger Who on the back, embroidered. And I asked them why, and I said, well, 23 to 24 guys had signed the flag. Tiger hadn't signed it yet. He did end up signing it later on, but he hadn't signed it at the time. And I went to VJ. I said, VJ, look at these hats. I said, I think it's funny. And he goes, oh, I did too. That's great. So I thought it was hilarious. Well, we get out in the match. We're 1 up through 3, and the fourth hole is a par 3 there. VJ hits it about 9 feet for birdie. Tiger hits it over the green. I think he hits it left the green in the water, chips it to like 40 feet for bogey. VJ obviously just says that's good. He's putting for bogey. VJ's got 9 feet for birdie.
Yeah.
Tiger doesn't give VJ his putt, and it's kind of weird. VJ lags it down. When I say a millimeter, it is hanging over the edge. And we didn't hear anything. And VJ looks over at Tiger, and he's standing on the side of the green with his arms crossed and a growl on his face. And VJ says, I think he saw your hat and doesn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
So Tiger made us putt it from a millimeter. We went to the next hole, and Tiger, who had played terrible all week, Noda Begay was his partner, and Noda was carrying Tiger all week. Tiger then proceeded. I remember the swing on the next hole. He had about an extra 20 degrees turn, hit about 305 down the middle of the fairway, was 7 under over his next 12, and beat us 2-1. Well, when we get done, there's about 20 reporters waiting for me. And, very quickly I realized that what I thought was funny, other people are going to make into a big story, and it became a big story. So nothing was really said for a long time. I went up to Tiger. We got paired together 5 weeks in a row after that. Those two weren't really talking. I went with Tiger and apologized. I said, buddy, I didn't mean anything disrespectful. I thought it was funny. It was 5 straight days playing with you guys. We busted up your Grand Slam. We're the only guy to win a major besides you. I thought it was funny. And he goes, oh, I didn't take it offensively. It did make me want to kick y'all's butt. He used a different word for butt,
sure.
But did make me want to kick y'all's butt. And so we didn't talk about it for 11 years. 2012, we're hitting around the putting green. He walks by and he plays a game called Call of Duty. And I always tell him that he needs to just, he needs to be Tiger Who, needs to be his nickname on the game. So I walked by, I said, what's up, Tiger Who? And he said, what's up, 2-1? Oh. So it had been 12 years.
And he's right there.
And he did not even skip a quarter of a second on the deal. And so that's one of his favorite stories that he loves me to retell it. He really loves the part with his arms crossed and the scowl on his face before we had to putt the 1 millimeter. But, it was obviously something if I had to do over again, I wouldn't have done. However, I'm glad I did it.
Yeah.
Because now it's a great story that Tiger gets to retell and all that good stuff.
I guess I want to ask about Tiger is that Do you think he ever was prepared for what his 40s were going to be like? Now, and I'm not talking about the injuries and all the personal things he went through, but he has all of these players out there that
that he's mentoring.
He has to be aware that all of that occurred because of what he did.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember too, and he's a different Tiger.
Oh yeah, I think it's much more fascinating too.
The Tiger pre-kids, I did not like at all. The Tiger, pre 2008, I didn't like at all.
Yeah.
He played games on the course, like, kind of mind games. He did a lot of things I didn't appreciate. He wasn't that nice of a guy, to be honest with you. And it's amazing what kids do to us all. And he is now one of my favorite people to see. I remember the first time we were over in Turkey in 2013, and I remember him stopping practice before a match and asking Webb how his family was. And I just sat back like, what is happening right now?
Right. Who is this guy?
Who is this guy and what's going on? And, now, he makes fun of every time he sees me, he goes, Paulie, $1,000 if you don't talk today. He just, that's the fun time. That's and he's older now, but kids change our lives. And, Tiger wants to still be great, but he doesn't care about being the best he can possibly be right now, because he wants to be the best he can possibly be as a dad. He wants to be a great, mentor for this game now. And he still wants to beat them, but he knows that this is his generation. He knows that these guys are hitting it farther than they've ever hit it. He knows these guys are fearless. All the young guys say, I wish we could have Tiger at his best. And I try to tell them, no, you don't. No, you don't. You don't. Just let me tell you, just like LeBron and everybody, I wish we had Michael Jordan. No, you don't. He was the best defender in the league. He would have stopped you. That's the problem. He was not only the best scorer in the league, he was the best defender in the league. Tiger was the best player of all time. And, he came at a time when we needed him. And now it's his generation that's taken over, and golf's in a great place. And I'm thankful for him. I'm also thankful for, what kids in this personality change has done for him. He's just a kinder, gentler. He's still funny. Yeah. He's still very, very witty. And he's still a competitor. He's still not going to be out there, rooting for you, but he's just a different man now. And I love this version of him. And it's been nice for me to be able to see the entire transformation, transformation of when he was a rookie to now. And it's been fun to watch.
How good of a captain is he going to be, whether it's President's Cup?
Incredible. Yeah. Oh, he's going to be great. And he's going to be the great in both worlds. He's going to make sure everybody has fun, but also step it up and give us a hard time when we need it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, your last question, which was a great one, a 21-year-old Paul Tesori. So I'm going to Rocco mediate. I was in junior college. I was 19 years old, and he did a clinic for us. And in Jacksonville, we were playing an FCCJ's tournament. And Rocco said something that the difference between guys that make it and guys that don't make it, or guys that make it know why. And at the time, he was like this young kid, Phil Mickelson. He knows why, and he's going to make it. And I never understood it. I did not understand what Rocco was meant, because the older I got, the more I realized what he meant. And you got to know why what you do works. Why are you a good driver of the ball? Why do you have a good short game? Why are you good mentally? Why? And the guys that know why, they are your superstars. They know why things work. And the guys that don't know why, they're the ones that, I don't like to use the term flash in the pan, but they get hot for a while and then they go away.
Right.
Because maybe they're a good putter, but they don't know why they're a good putter. Maybe they have a good short game, but they have no idea why. And that's what VJ taught me, is VJ knew why everything worked. He knew why each aspect of his game worked, and that's why he was great and could depend on it. Tiger knew why everything worked. And I had no idea why anything I did worked until I was 35 years old, and it was too late for me. I feel like I'm just as good of a player now at 47, because I know why whatever I do, I know why it works, and I know why it doesn't work. I know why both ways. And that's one huge thing I was able to kind of bring to Shawano, and now definitely bring to Webber, and why Webber has gotten back to being a top 20 player in the world again and starting to contend at majors again, is because we now know why his mind is strong. We know why his short game is strong, and why his body has gotten stronger as far as workouts and stuff. So just know why. And, I think the same thing in your profession. Why are you talented? Why are you good at your job? Because you're prepared. You did more research on me than I've done on me. But you came in prepared. You knew why. the reason why you're good is because your guest. You're going to do research on them. You're going to ask intentional questions to get intentional answers. And you know why you're good at it because you prepare for it. And I think it's the same way in business or sports, no matter what you're doing.
Well, that's I appreciate the compliment, and that's great information for anyone in any walk of life, whether we're talking about golf or business or family or faith or anything like that. So that's
so true.
Paul, this has been phenomenal. I feel we could probably go on for 2 or 3 more hours, but you need to go play some golf or go get ready for the Players Championship.
Yes.
Wish we didn't even talk about the players, but hey,
I know.
Hey, everyone. Webb Simpson won the Players Championship last year. They're going to go try and defend. There, we covered it.
There we covered it. Great.
Good luck at the Players. I hope we can do it again sometime. And again, thanks for being here at the back of the range.
Ben, thanks for having me on. I love talking to you, buddy. And maybe after we either go back to back or close off a major this year, we'll get to chit chat again.
Absolutely. And there you have it, another great episode here at the Back of the Range Golf Podcast. Special thanks to Paul Tesori for joining us this week. Good luck to him and Webb Simpson as they try to defend the Players' Championship. Don't forget, leave a review in Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Everything you need is in the show notes of this episode. We'll see you again next week for episode 65 here at the Back of the Range.